top who is leaving or who is staying?
Well, Mijungu, yes, indeed, we are in Kakamega County, specifically Mumias East. Remember that Mumias East, Mumias West, and Matungu were actually some of the areas that were flagged by the IEBC for the late kickoff of the voting exercises. So they took off, actually, the voting exercise took off like 4 hours late. And so that has actually really affected the process. So to this end, it is around 10:30, and the process of counting of the votes is not really wrapped up. And so we are here in Mumias East, Shanda, where the contestants, of course, the aspirants, or rather the candidates, have actually been really waiting with a bit of course a breath here. So they're really waiting for the results here. We're also waiting for the results of the presidential candidates here in Mumias East. But remember that, of course, for the residents here, the locals here, remember that the incoming, the outgoing member of parliament, Ben Washali, never contested for that particular seat. And so come what may, we're expecting a new member of parliament. All of them are waiting for the verdict of the electorate to be finalized. Of course, they finalized the voting exercise, but now the electoral officials are now really collecting the figures, the data, to ensure that they finalize the collation exercise and come up with the final tally and ensure they make public the final, of course, the winner of these particular race here. And so if my colleague could just append here so that we could speak to the returning officer, Mr. Sylvester Uma, just come over if you don't mind, so that my colleague Momo could just pan the other side so that we could speak to him to tell us the status update of the voting and the counting of the votes here in Mumias East. Maybe what could be delaying the final announcement of the results, or rather the winner. Karibu sana bwana returning officer. Maybe just tell us your names and, of course, the status update of the vote counting here, specifically in at the presidency and the MP level.
Actually, thank you so much, the officer in charge. Okay, is it KTN?
KTN.
Yeah, KTN, Mumias East constituency. Actually, if I take you down the memory lane, historically what has been happening since then, we dispatched the presiding officers exactly to the polling station so that they could start on time. But in the process, somewhere down the road, as the process started, some of our machines, the KMs, malfunctioned. And the exact number is about 18 of them. And when we got information, we escalated it to the county returning officer, which actually assured us that at the end of the day, reinforcement will become, or they will get alternative kits. And it took a bit of time because of each here and there. But finally...
Move forward so that it can be seen clearly.
But finally, in the process, he gave us a communication from Nairobi that the chairman had instructed that we revert to the printed register in the meantime, as they would get as alternatives from Nairobi. Actually, he told us there were alternative KMs that were being flown from Nairobi to the county office so that we would pick them from there. Yeah.
Of course, you finally resorted to manual identification. You did that. They finalized the voting exercise. You began counting. Maybe just tell us the number of polling stations in this particular constituency, the number you are done with, the remaining ones.
Now, actually, it is not counting per se. The delay started because actually when there are itches in the polling stations, or there is a lapse in the process of voting, then the law requires that when you are supposed to close at 1700 hours, you compensate by the equivalent number of hours that was lost. So you realize that our presiding officers in the field extended, some extended by 6 hours, 8 hours. To that extent, some of them even reached here today. Around midday, some of them came here at 10, etc., etc. So that kind of delay, actually, it means we were to work backwards to compensate for the lost time. However, for today, we are complete. We had done, we had read all 5 polling stations. What we are now doing was collation. We are doing an analysis. We do synthesis so that we would have some kind of a spreadsheet which is actually more accurate with minimal error. So at that point in time, which of course I don't blame them because there is pressure from them, from their supporters. They came, the candidate for the DAP, And then there is also the candidate, an independent candidate, who actually, they really wanted the results. The word is result, but result is not produced instantly. It's a process, as I've told you. So, you know, because of pressure, I understand, because of pressure from their side, they also insisted, but you realize that the entire compound was packed by the supporters, making noise, hitting the windows. As you can see, there is a crack over there. So at that point in time, even our ICT officers, they are young men, they feared for their lives. They took off. And then they ended up in their homes, and I don't know their locations. So each time we would call them, we could not get them.
Maybe, so finally, what time do we expect maybe the final results here? Maybe today, tonight, midnight, tomorrow before noon?
With a measure of uncertainty, I cannot tell you that because there are dynamics. However, according to my plan, I would wish, but tomorrow by around 11, we should be done with everything so that each of them can start celebrating or crying.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Well, the returning officer in charge of Mumias East constituency here really saying that the latest they can receive the results is actually tomorrow. But remember, Mijungu, some hours ago, they actually, the supporters of the various candidates here milling around, just pressuring the officials here to ensure they relay the results tonight. But remember, these actually logistical issues, and of course, they really need to synthesize, as the RO has really hinted. And so we're really waiting. We shall be here tonight to ensure that we actually bring our viewers to speed with the happenings here. But remember that if my colleague here could just pan on my left here, actually, they're actually seated here, they are reading, and of course, those who actually just, normal supporters were actually cleared from the compound here. You can see the candidates are already here. They look tired, of course. They have been waiting here. These are not the candidates, but some of the supporters, of course, the officials, they have been accredited by the IEBC to sit here in their capacities. And so by tomorrow, according to the officer in charge of the elections here in this constituency, they will be receiving those results. But of course, as you can, of course, from the RO here, is that anxiety was quite palpable here in Mumias East. But Mijungu, we shall be bringing our viewers to speed with all the happenings here, wall-to-wall coverage from this place here, of course. Also remember, as I indicated earlier, that not just Mumias East, but Mumias West and Matungu constituencies, they were affected at the onset. And so we shall be visiting all those constituencies to see as to how the exercise really panned out. Mijungu.
Thank you so much, Alan Ochanda from Mumias East. And of course, our eyes are trailed on that particular region for a specific reason. Now let's take a look at our map once more tonight. And total registered voters versus the valid. Now this number, actually we need to a little bit edit this number right now and just do about 16